Welcome to the Think Forward podcast, where we speak with futurists, innovators, and big thinkers. Come along with your host, Steve Fisher, and explore the future together.
Welcome back to Foundations in Foresight, a Think Forward series. I'm Steve Fisher, and today we're tackling the next critical step in building a future-ready organization, how to implement and scale your future's operating system. Over the last 2 episodes, we've established why organizations need a structured system for foresight, the 6 core components of the future's operating system, from scanning and signal detection to implementation and continuous learning. But here's the challenge. Having a system is one thing. Getting an entire organization to adopt it and scale it successfully is another. In this episode, we'll explore how to implement a future's operating system step by step, how to scale foresight across teams, departments, and leadership, how to measure effectiveness so foresight leads to real impact, how organizations sustain futures thinking long-term, making it part of their DNA. By the end of this episode, you'll have a practical roadmap for moving foresight from a specialized function to a core organizational capability that influences leadership, strategy, and decision-making at every level. Let's dive in. Part 1. The challenge of implementing foresight at scale. Before we break down the implementation roadmap, let's address the reality that many organizations face. Even when leadership buys into foresight, scaling it remains a challenge. Why? 3 major reasons. 1. Foresight often starts in silos. A small innovation team or strategy unit may explore future trends, but the rest of the organization remains focused on short-term goals and immediate execution. Without broader integration, foresight stays locked within one department and doesn't influence company-wide decisions. 2. There's no structured process for rolling foresight into day-to-day operations. It's easy to create a foresight team, but harder to get other departments, finance, operations, marketing, HR, to adopt a futures mindset. Without clear implementation steps, foresight remains an interesting side project rather than a driving force behind decision-making. 3rd, measurement and accountability are often unclear. Unlike financial performance or operational efficiency, foresight doesn't always have immediate, tangible KPIs. If leadership doesn't see direct value from foresight-driven insights, long-term investment wanes. The solution? A structured implementation plan that makes foresight scalable, actionable, and measurable. Part 2. Implementing the future's operating system, step by step. To successfully implement a future's operating system, organizations need a 5-step process. Step 1. Establish foresight leadership and governance. Define who owns foresight, whether it's a dedicated team, an innovation office, or a cross-functional task force. Assign foresight champions, individuals responsible for integrating futures thinking into different parts of the organization. Create a foresight council, a group of senior leaders who advise, review, and act on foresight-driven insights. Step 2. Embed foresight into strategic planning and decision-making. Ensure foresight is a standing agenda item in leadership meetings, board reviews, and annual strategic planning cycles. Develop a futures-first decision framework, a structured process where major decisions are tested against multiple future scenarios. Align foresight efforts with corporate strategy, risk management, and investment planning. Step 3. Create a distributed scanning and monitoring network. Train cross-functional teams to continuously scan for signals of change relevant to their industry. Develop key foresight indicators, KFIs, metrics that track shifts in technology, regulation, consumer behavior, and global risks. Use trend dashboards and internal reports to keep leadership informed about emerging disruptions and strategic opportunities. Step 4. Build a rapid scenario-to-action process. Ensure every strategy session or innovation initiative runs scenario-based exercises to stress test decisions. Use the Futures Action Framework, turning weak signals into strategic choices in pilot programs. Example: a company developing a 5-year workforce strategy applies foresight insights to prepare for automation, AI augmentation, and hybrid work models. Step 5. Train and scale foresight capabilities across the organization. Develop internal foresight training programs, teaching employees how to think in scenarios, identify emerging trends, and challenge linear assumptions. Launch quarterly foresight workshops where teams explore how future trends impact their specific functions: finance, HR, product, marketing. Make foresight a core leadership competency, ensuring future literacy becomes part of management training programs. With these 5 steps, foresight moves beyond a small group of futurists and becomes an organizational-wide capability. Part 3, measuring the impact of foresight. To ensure long-term success, organizations need clear ways to measure whether their future's operating system trademark is working. Key metrics for foresight success. 1. Foresight integration rate. What percentage of major business or policy decisions are informed by foresight insights? 2. Strategic adaptability index. How quickly and effectively does the organization respond to early signals of disruption? 3. Innovation. Pipeline contribution. How many new products, services, or business models are generated from foresight-driven initiatives? 4. Future readiness score. Internal assessments of leadership's confidence in handling future uncertainty. 5. Risk mitigation effectiveness. How many identified future risks were successfully planned for or avoided? By tracking these metrics, organizations can quantify the impact of foresight and ensure it remains a core function of strategy and decision-making. Part 4. Case study, scaling foresight in a global organization. Let's apply everything we've discussed to a real-world example. Imagine you're the chief strategy officer of a Fortune 500 company, responsible for navigating an industry undergoing massive disruption from AI, automation, and decentralized workforces. Here's how you implement and scale the future's operating system. Step 1. You establish a dedicated foresight office and appoint foresight champions across major departments. Step 2. You ensure every leadership offsite and strategic review includes a foresight briefing. Step 3. You set up cross-functional scanning teams, monitoring trends in talent, AI adoption, and industry regulation. Step 4. You integrate foresight-driven scenario testing into every major investment and hiring decision. Step 5. You develop a future-ready leadership training program equipping executives with foresight skills. As a result, the company avoids short-term panic reactions, stays ahead of disruption, and positions itself as a future leader rather than a follower. Final thoughts and challenge for listeners. Now that you've learned how to implement and scale a future's operating system trademark, the next step is making it a continuous practice. So here's your challenge. Assess where foresight currently lives in your organization. Is it centralized, distributed, completely missing? Look for one place where you can introduce futures thinking into decision-making. Can it be added to strategic planning, budgeting, innovation sprints? Think about foresight as a long-term capability, not a short-term exercise. In our next episode, we'll wrap up our deep dive into the future's operating system and reflect on what's next for foresight implementation. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time, keep exploring possibilities, remain flexible, and as always, think forward.
Thanks for listening to the Think Forward podcast. You can find us on all the major podcast platforms and at www.thinkforwardshow.com, as well as on YouTube under Think Forward Show. See you next time.